Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy. We're here with Desi from Survivor, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers.
Hi, Desi. Thanks for speaking with us today.
No problem.
Tell us how you were chosen to be on Survivor.
So I actually was recruited for Survivor. I'm one of those. And a casting director, sent me a message in my other inbox on Facebook. And so it just sort of explained, like, hey, I'm not a creep, but I think you'd be great for this show I'm casting for, Survivor. So he pretty much just told me, binge watch Survivor for the weekend, call me on Monday, let me know if it's something you'd be interested in. So like the rest of the world, I watched Survivor in the early days and then sort of fell off the bandwagon. And so that weekend, I binge watched Survivor all weekend. And after a weekend, I was totally hooked and all in. So I called him back on Monday and just basically was like, tell me what I need to do. So I sent in an audition video. A few weeks later, was flown out to L.A. to do the in-person interviews in front of the producers. And several months later, got a call back saying that I was selected and would be flying out to an undisclosed location in a few weeks. So that's kind of how it all happened. It was a very quick sequence of events.
Besides the binge watching, what else did you do to prepare to go out there?
I actually have listened to your podcast a few times. So really, it was just me trying to get as much information in as short of a time as possible. So I'd watch episodes of Survivor, then I'd listen to a few podcasts and read a few blogs about what happened in the episode and see kind of like how people were breaking it down. Watch another episode, do the same thing. So it was really just kind of studying the strategy of the game. And then physically, I wanted to be as strong as possible as well. So I had a trainer that I'd worked with before competing at America, Miss USA, and kind of went to him and just said, I can't tell you why, but I want to be the strongest and the fittest I've ever been in my life. And so I just worked out hard, added swimming to my routine, and that's pretty much all I did to prepare.
How did you feel about your overall edit in the show?
I am sad that they didn't show more of me playing the game. I mean, it sort of looks like I was just like sitting around all day waiting for tribal council to happen. But I actually was having conversations with people, and they were people who I thought I was forming relationships and alliances with that obviously didn't pan out, and they ended up turning on me, which is why they probably didn't show that. So, I mean, I'm sad that they didn't show me playing the game. It looks like I was just sort of passively there on the island. But I was playing the game. But in the long run, I wasn't edited at all to be any type of villain. I sort of joked with my mom last night that I got voted out in just enough time to like not start looking like crap on TV. That I got voted out in just enough time that I still looked good enough on TV. So maybe it was the perfect timing, because if I would have stayed any longer, I'm sure I could tell how my looks were starting to go downhill.
So how did you feel about being put on the Healers tribe, and how did that impact your game?
I loved the Healers tribe, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but those first few days on Survivor were awesome. It almost felt at times like we weren't playing a game because, one, we kept winning, so that was pretty sweet. But also, we just kind of got along. Like, what people didn't see was every night before bed, like, we'd give each other back rubs, and then we'd cuddle on the beach and then sleep on the beach every night, and we'd play games and we'd tell stories. So I loved being on the original Healer tribe. I think it sort of set the tone for the game that I wasn't miserable on day one. I was actually quite fat and happy and comfortable for up to 9 days on Survivor, because we never had to go to tribal council. So in that aspect, it was great. It was just unfortunate and sad and really disappointing to see us truly fall apart at last night's tribal council. And that's something that I didn't expect to happen so soon in the game. What alliances did you make? So I had conversations. I thought that Lauren and I were forming an alliance. We also, the second Levu tribe talked. It seemed like we were, everything was like adversaries, but we had quite a few conversations about the four of us, me, Joe, Devin, and Ashley, working together long term. And so I thought that those are people who I was solid with moving forward. That turned out obviously not to be the case, but that's kind of where I thought I stood. It was outside of the Healers, who I thought for sure were voting with me last night, who did not end up voting with me last night. I thought I had those relationships as well.
What can you tell us about your relationship with Cole and Mike?
During the game?
Yeah.
Last night I was shocked that votes went down the way they were. So before tribal council, I was told all of the Healers were voting for Lauren in the anticipation that everybody else would be splitting votes between me and Joe. So I thought we were all for voting for Lauren, and we were all for solid in that, and solid in our original Healers alliance. So I thought I had a good relationship with the both of them, and was a little shocked when they turned so early on in the game.
Had they shared information with you prior to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I knew that Ben was talking with, not Ben, that Mike was talking with Ben. I knew that he felt close with Ben, and I thought that Cole felt the closest with me and Joe at that point in time because he had lost Jess, who was his really only ally still left in the game post-merge. So, yeah, I talked to both of them and talked to both of them quite extensively. So, again, I was shocked at last night's tribal council when they did not vote with us.
Well, congratulations on winning the first individual immunity challenge.
Thank you very much.
Describe what the last immunity challenge was like for you.
I was actually pissed that I didn't win that challenge. It's tough. That challenge was very tough because that rod that you're holding, like it looks like you're just holding onto this stick and whatever, but it's actually pretty heavy. So not only are you having to keep it steady and at the exact right place on that stupid little peg, but your muscles fatigue because you're carrying around, I would say, like 15, 20 pounds. So that was a pretty tough challenge. I don't know if they kind of explained it clearly enough that you're like stepping back and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and you're standing on essentially nothing, holding on to this weighted bar and trying not to move. So I had sort of a tactic for Immunity Challenge 1 that I thought I could take over into Challenge. It just wasn't as effective.
What challenge was your favorite?
The one I won, of course. But seriously, that first individual immunity challenge, that just kind of came natural to me, and I sort of zoned out, and I was singing a song in my head the whole time. I probably could have done that challenge for hours. It was just that easy, for me, at least. But I would have to say the most fun one to, like, be in the moment and do and then look back and watch is the one where we sort of, like, crawled through the sand. Just didn't realize how much faster I was going than everyone else. So that was fun to see. But also just, like, it challenged you to just, like, get down and dirty. So it's fun to see, like, I don't know, how dirty I was. I didn't realize I had sand all over my face. Nobody thought to, like, look over and say, hey, Des, like, you got something on your face. But it's fun to look back and watch and see how in the moment I was. And then, of course, we won the best reward, which was all those pastries and coffee. And I am addicted to coffee.
So at the time you were voted off, who did you think was playing the best game?
I thought Chrissy or Ben was playing the best game. And there was a lot of conversation, of course. Tribal council lasts sometimes for hours and then gets edited down to this, like, 10-minute scene on TV. But there was a lot of conversation at tribal council last night about who was controlling that alliance. And so it was clear that it was either Ben or Chrissy. But it's interesting that neither one of them wanted to fess up to being the head of that alliance. And so that's where Ben's comment about them being knights around the round table kind of came into play, was we were trying to, peg who's the leader of this alliance because they're the biggest threat and that's who we need to get out of the game. But nobody would take responsibility. So I think certainly Ben or Chrissy, they both, even I guess they're leading it together. At least that's the narrative they're trying to portray. But they're leading the direction of the game.
Do you think anyone's getting a better edit than you thought they deserved, or are you seeing differences in the story?
I think there were some things left out of last night's episode that would have made Chrissy less desirable, and would have made more people dislike Chrissy. But overall, I think people are getting a fair edit. What I think that the world isn't seeing enough of is how hilarious Lauren Rimmer is specifically. And that can be threatening because she's so charming and she's so funny, and every word that comes out of her mouth is like a joke. And so I think they're not showing enough of her because she's actually really fun to be around, and I don't think the world is getting to see that.
Sticking with tribal council, you were talking about liars and being lied to. Was there something specific you were referencing there?
There was, yeah, and that's why I said I think kind of Chrissy got a better edit this episode than I think that she deserved. Because there was a moment sort of surrounding that clue at the reward, surrounding the whole digging for the idol thing, and there was a moment where Chrissy, I don't know, it just depends on who you ask, swore on her kids and in fact was lying about that. And so you can see kind of the way the camera angled, and also the way I was expressing it was I was pretty specifically talking to her in those moments, and referencing a lie that I felt like stepped over what should be the moral line.
Okay.
What were your thoughts when they were down there wrestling, digging?
I thought it was ridiculous. I mean, it was clear they were digging for an idol, like, of course, that. But there was a point where Chrissy was literally, like, on top of Cole's back, like so he was a toy horse, like she was riding a toy on a merry-go-round. And in that moment, it just felt inappropriate for a married woman, half, like, dressed, to think that was appropriate or in any way going to help her get whatever idol may or may not be buried. And the funny thing is that in that moment, we also knew that Chrissy already knew that the idol wasn't down there. So it just felt over the top.
Which healer did you think had turned on you, and did you believe Joe when he said he didn't flip on you?
Oh, I absolutely believe Joe. You know, people dislike Joe because they find him abrasive and rubs them the wrong way. But Joe pretty much wears his cards on his sleeve. He's pretty open and honest about who he does and does not like. And so I knew going to tribal, like, I wholeheartely believed that Joe wouldn't flip on me. I think we both knew that we could probably write the other person's name down and secure that we would be safe another week. And I'm happy that I made the decision not to do that, even though it ended up in me being voted out. But I'm also happy that he did not make that decision. So in the moment, I mean, I just assumed it was Cole or Dr. Mike who flipped.
Why do you think they chose to vote you off, given Joe was so abrasive?
So Joe's abrasive, but I think that actually would work in their favor. So I think there are a couple of reasons why. I think first, we've now been through 2 individual immunity challenges, and Joe performed pretty terribly in both of them. They don't see him necessarily as a challenge threat, and so long as he doesn't have an idol, they can always vote him out later, whereas I think they saw me as a challenge threat. Secondly, people don't like Joe, so I think they felt safe that even if by some random chance Joe made it to final tribal council, they could still sit next to him and nobody would be voting for Joe. So I think they felt safe in that as well, that, you know, let's keep Joe around because it's a bigger threat that Desi could potentially win individual immunity time after time again. And people like her well enough that she might get some votes.
So did you have any injuries or health issues out there?
I mean, I had scrapes pretty much all over the place. But truthfully, no, not really. I mean, there were moments pre-merge, probably like 48 hours pre-merge, where I hadn't consumed a single calorie and thought I was going to die just because I was so hungry. But outside of that, I fared pretty well health-wise in the game.
We saw in your Ponderosa video, you only lost 7 pounds. How did you do that over 21 days?
I was so sad about that, too. That's what I kind of said to Dr. Joe. There have been days where I literally haven't consumed a calorie. That's why I said I should be a supermodel by now. I should be stick thin by now. I actually was pissed as well that I only lost 7 pounds in the course of that time. I had no clue. But I always tell people, I'm fairly healthy, and my body just holds on to everything. I have the hardest time losing weight, even when I'm trying to lose weight. So I guess my body just holds on to stuff. I don't know, but I was certainly hungry.
You weren't secretly sneaking food or anything now, were you?
If only that were an option. Well, when they say there's no food on Survivor, I too was like, when we get weak, they're going to sneak us some food. But there were at least 36 hours where I literally did not have a single calorie to consume. We had no coconuts left on the island. There was nothing to eat. And nobody seemed to care. It's like, I'm over here dying, guys. I'm dying, and nobody cares. So there's no food to sneak, unfortunately.
What did you see on TV that surprised you the most? At the risk of sounding like this is going to sound, I already know, conceited, so I apologize in advance. But, I looked pretty damn good for not having showered for days or brushed my teeth for days or have any beauty products. And I only say that because I'm a pageant girl, so I love makeup and I love hair products and I love getting dressed up. And so the territory of not looking in the mirror for days and days is something that is totally unfamiliar. And so I just knew that I looked disgusting. So I was pleasantly surprised at how not disgusting I looked on TV.
What criteria will you use to decide who you'll vote to give the money to, and who would you like to see win?
Gosh, there are a lot of people who I think deserve to win for a number of reasons, whether it be for personal reasons because it would transform their lifestyle so much, or just because they're good people. So that I don't know that I want to say. But for me, I decided I'd try very hard to separate personal feelings because there are people who I certainly don't like in the game, but who I think are playing a good game. So for me, it's all about playing a good game.
And if you can demonstrate and more importantly articulate your moves in the game and why you're superior to those two people who you ultimately decided to take with you to the final three, that's what my game or what my vote will be based upon.
How's your view of yourself changed after this experience?
I think I'm just a more raw version of myself than I once was. I was sort of, I guess maybe this comes back to the pageant thing too, but I kind of always felt like I can only show the best version and the best parts of myself to the world. So if you would ask anybody who knew me, they would think like, oh, she doesn't cry, she's got no emotions. So that's not typically what I share with the world. But it was nice, well, not nice in the moment because I was like way too emotional, especially in my final words. But also it made me realize that it's okay to share your emotions and who you are and your flaws with other people. And they might still like you, even though you're flawed, because we're all inherently flawed.
What's next for you?
Lots of exciting stuff. I actually recently moved. I was in Virginia when I got cast in the show. I recently moved to Los Angeles about 2.5 months ago. So I'm pursuing TV hosting out here and maybe a little dibble and dabble into acting. So hopefully it's not the last time people see me on TV.
Well, Desi, thank you for sharing with us today, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.